Hello, Peter Principle. Hierarchies matter. We might hate them, but we can't ignore them. They are all around us, informal or formal. To some extent, climbing up the hierarchy is essential fuel for almost every human. In some deeply human spiritual way, most of us prefer the view from the top. Or as one mentor always reminded me, Mats, if you're not the lead dog, you won't like the view. We might and hopefully do have very different types of hierarchies in mind in churches, in schools, in governments, in workplaces, and even in our minds. But despite the many forms they may take, they are still hierarchies. You'd be hard pressed to name a single entity that didn't adhere to some sort of hierarchical order. As humans, we are thirsty and hungry for acceptance, relevance, resonance, and most of all, a sense of purpose. Perhaps this newsletter is more about elevating ourselves in the hierarchy of information rather than organization. But my writing and your reading are evidence of our curiosity and desire to better understand the complexities of life and desire to contribute to continued human evolution and progress. And that is, of course, entirely a good thing. Today, I just want to focus on a singular aspect of hierarchies, organizational hierarchy. Who gets to sit on top? And how do we determine the skills, capabilities, and readiness for anyone to take that next step up? It obviously matters a great deal. I feel a lot of our current problems would have been avoided, or at least would have been managed a whole lot better, if many leaders in positions were better suited for the responsibilities they have. In the distant past, there were two primary ways of taking power: through force, conquest, or battle, a violent demonstration of ability, and then there were those who were born into their role, demonstrating no qualification but birthright, but were nonetheless trained for their role since their very first breath. In this day and age, of course, we do things, thankfully, a bit differently. Our political leaders only have one qualification, really: winning an election. That's it. And once they are in office, that keeps being their only objective, to win the next election. And they can, and many do, keep repeating that for a very long time. Way too long for my taste, hence my support for term limits. Some would argue, and of course in a strict democratic sense, they might be right, that winning an election in and of itself is the ultimate proof of having proved that you're the right person for the job. But when you look at that particular game, you quickly realize that it's filled with a myriad of distortions that make the simple relationship between skills and effectiveness very difficult to assess for any voter. First, there is serious money involved in winning. Did you earn or buy your votes? Second, things like gerrymandering. Did you redraw your electorate map to enhance your chances? And lastly, attribution. Which policies were you truly instrumental in bringing into reality? And what aspect of people's lives did your work really and truly affect? But we can extend similar reasoning to all institutions. Government agencies are in many cases more important than the politicians governing them. What do we know about the qualifications of those running them? How did they get appointed? What about the large not-for-profits, research organizations, and local municipalities? So how do we pick the right leader for a job? Fortunately, there is no one answer to that question. I say fortunately, since if there was, I don't think we'd like being human beings as much as we do. The beauty of life is in the unknown, the unexpected. Every human is slightly different. Every relationship and leadership task is therefore different. Every time, era, nature of the challenge, and overall context is different. Therefore, there simply can't be a formula to be applied to all situations. I learned this many years ago from Dr. Martin Ingvar, professor of clinical neurophysiology at Karolinska Institute in Stockholm. I consulted with Dr. Ingvar in my own leadership development program to better help us understand our brains. When he realized that I was really looking for the one answer to all of the human insight, he simply said, and I believe he was quoting the physicist Emerson Pugh, "Mats, if the brain was so simple we could understand it, we would be so simple we still wouldn't." It was one of those aha moments for me. It reminds me of the old man who desperately prays to find the keys to the future. When his prayers are answered, he is told, "I have bad news and good news. The bad news is that there are no keys. The good news is that the gates are left open." So we are left doing the best we can, and many, of course, are. When I am faced with leadership evaluations, promotions, or selections, I tend to focus mainly on three dimensions. First, what is the context? What is the nature of the challenge I'm trying to solve? Is the challenge something I recognize from before, pattern recognition, that is? I particularly have learned to be extra sensitive to the degree of change involved. Is this an execution or an innovation problem primarily? The reason is that the leadership qualities needed to manage execution and innovation challenges are quite different. Second, culture. What type of culture do we have? What values and human qualities typically fit well within that culture? In what direction are we seeking to nudge or change our culture? Is the person I am considering fluent in the language of the culture they will lead? Again, depending on the level of change we're trying to initiate, these considerations are significant. Third, attributions. The person we are considering, what do we know about them? How do we know that they truly did what their resume claims they did? Is the past truly the best predictor of the future? Some people are lucky and find themselves in the right place at the right time. You could land a job at a company that had 10 fantastic years of growth and success and rise within that organization. How much of that can be credited to your talents and skills as a leader? Difficult but important questions to consider. A very famous problem in leadership selection is called the Peter Principle. It basically states that in hierarchical structure, people tend to be promoted up to their level of incompetence and stay there, meaning that there is a ceiling for performance. Just because somebody is good at some things doesn't mean that they will be good at other things. I'm reflecting on just this and many other things every day. As an active investor, my job is basically about three things. First, finding great ideas that can build a better tomorrow. Second, allocating financial capital towards the ideas that can have the greatest impact, financially and societally. And third, and by far the most important and difficult, making sure each of those ideas has the right talent to maximize their potential. The first two are reasonably straightforward. The latter is very, very difficult indeed. I have dedicated an enormous part of my own free time to try to better myself and my understanding of identifying, assessing, and evaluating leaders. It's one of the areas in my life that I am constantly practicing, daily, and it will probably never end. This is both the beauty and frustration of the Pew quote above. We are never done. And, to quote T.S. Eliot, we shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know that place for the very first time. So there's much to learn. Getting better at putting aces in their places and making sure our most important institutions have the right leadership must be one of the most important tasks for all of us. I believe our political process could be much more focused on the skills of aspiring candidates relative to what their philosophies and experience are around talent selection and managing cultures. Leadership is all about creating followers, and the only way to do that at scale is to recruit the right talent and build the right culture. I'm sharing a few pieces for those who want to go deeper. The first is a very good BBC interview and very old with Dr. Peter Lawrence, where he describes how he came to be the father of the Peter Principle. You will enjoy it. It's only a few minutes, and I really recommend it. Second, there's a fantastic new book out by Tyler Cowen and Daniel Gross called Talent. And I really also enjoyed the podcast where Russ Roberts talks to Tyler about the book. I think what Tyler and Daniel point to is our need currently for more transformational leaders and why they typically are different from our more traditional view of talent. And for those that are interested, I'm also posting 2 interviews I recently made with 2 friends and 2 people I highly respect in the field of talent. One is with my friend Dave Ransom, and the other with Nick Cremidas at the Hunt Club. Please check them both out and to learn more. Have a great week, and let's get better.